President Trump has made his first official appearance since his post-election press conference last week, laying a wreath to mark Veterans Day. He's still refusing to concede defeat in the election. Joe Biden also attended a ceremony in Pennsylvania. The state of Georgia has announced its first ever vote recount, with Joe Biden leading by just 14,000 out of the 5 million votes cast. The counting will be done by hand. The UK has become the first European country to exceed 50,000 coronavirus-related deaths, with a further 595 deaths in the past day. In Italy, the number of confirmed cases has passed 1 million. And all pro-democracy lawmakers in Hong Kong have resigned from the Legislative Council after 4 of their colleagues were expelled.
Georgia Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger has ordered all of the state's 159 counties to conduct a hand recount and audit of all votes cast in the presidential race. As of this morning, President-elect Joe Biden led President Trump by a little over 14,000 votes in the state out of almost 5 million votes cast. The Trump campaign and its allies have filed lawsuits against several states claiming election fraud and irregularities. They seek to block Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania from certifying election results that currently show Biden in the lead. The world oil market will take a larger hit this year than previously expected. That's according to OPEC. The cartel now projects a 10% drop in demand over last year and dialed back its forecast for next year as well. OPEC blames coronavirus lockdown measures in Europe and weakening consumption in the Americas. And European banking regulators are voicing concerns that banks could run out of capital because of loan defaults when government pandemic rescue packages end. The European Central Bank said that bank loans in the Eurozone could soar as high as $1.7 trillion if the region's economies fall even more than expected. That's more than during the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, when European banks struggled to recover due to a sovereign debt crisis.
The coronavirus continues to spread across Japan, with Tokyo reporting 317 new cases on Wednesday. This marks the first time since late August that the capital's daily tally has exceeded 300. New cases have topped 100 for the 9th day in a row. So far, more than 33,000 people have tested positive in the metropolis.
The infection is spreading in all age groups. We want all residents to act prudently to protect elderly people and prevent people from falling seriously ill.
The western prefecture of Osaka registered a record 256 new cases.
The daily figure in Osaka is steadily on the rise. That means we are facing a third wave of infections.
Hokkaido is facing a surge in infections as cold weather sets in. The northern prefecture's daily figure has topped 100 for 7 consecutive days. Nursing care facilities are stepping up antivirus measures. This elderly care home installed sinks at all entrances for hand washing.
Elderly people face a higher risk, and many of them have pre-existing conditions. We are worried what would happen if they contract the virus.
Health ministry officials say the rising number of cases could take a toll on the medical system in 6 prefectures. This hospital in Tokyo has 40 beds for COVID-19 patients, and they're gradually filling up. Experts are calling on the government to monitor the regional spread of infection and take necessary precautions as early as possible ahead of winter.
Social and economic activities will gradually step up, and international travel will increase. In winter, influenza could spread, and people have a long holiday over the year-end and New Year.
Over 112,000 cases have been confirmed in Japan, and more than 1,800 people have died. A nuclear reactor in Japan's northeast that's been offline since the 2011 earthquake and tsunami is set to restart after getting approval from local municipalities. The reactor at the Onagawa plant in Miyagi Prefecture is expected to be the first affected plant to go back online in the hard-hit region.
We confirmed the safety requirements needed to operate the number 2 reactor of Onagawa plant.
Governor Murai said it was a hard decision to make in light of the nuclear accident in Fukushima 9 years ago. He added that restarting the reactor will bring more employment to local firms and revitalize the economy. The 3 reactors at the Tohoku Electric Power Company's Onagawa plant automatically shut down after detecting the tremors when the earthquake hit. The tsunami that came next was 13 meters high and damaged some facilities. The electric power company has since built a seawall 29 meters above sea level to protect the facility from tsunami waves. Local residents have mixed feelings about the reactor restarting.
I think the community prospers to some extent if the nuclear power plant restarts. So without it, the town might die out.
It would be good if the decision was made by a referendum, but lawmakers made such an important choice on their own.
Tohoku Electric Power Company said that it'll continue its utmost efforts to improve the safety of power plants. 16 reactors at 9 plants across Japan have met tougher requirements introduced after the 2011 disaster. Now to Hong Kong, where pro-democracy lawmakers say they're resigning en masse in protest after 4 of their members were disqualified by the territory's government. The disqualification on Wednesday followed a decision made by China's Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. The Hong Kong government says the lawmakers endangered national security.
Anyone who has taken an oath and served as a legislative council, but thereafter they have engaged in activities which are bridging those requirements, that they should immediately lose their qualification to become a legislative council.
The 4 lawmakers spoke to media after they were unseated. One of the members called the disqualification a breach of basic law and their rights.
Today is not the hardest or the saddest day of Hong Kong, but I would certainly promise that I would go along with all the people in Hong Kong, continue to fight for the core values of Hong Kong: freedom, democracy, justice and fair. And we should never give up.
The disqualifications come after China's state-run Xinhua news agency reported Beijing adopted legislation allowing Hong Kong to disqualify anyone who commits acts that threaten national security. The decision lets it bypass the courts. Earlier this week, the 19 pro-democracy lawmakers said they strongly opposed the move and threatened to resign collectively if any were expelled. Now they appear to be following through with their threat, which would mean Hong Kong's legislative council would be virtually fully controlled by pro-Beijing lawmakers. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stressed the importance of countries respecting each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He made the comment during an online summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in apparent reference to an ongoing military standoff between his country and China. The meeting was the first time Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping have spoken since troops from the 2 sides first clashed along their disputed border in June.
India believes that in order to deepen connectivity, it's important that we move forward while respecting one another's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
India accuses China of trying to change the status quo. Troops from both countries have been locked in a standoff for the past 5 months, with occasional skirmishes breaking out. Diplomatic and military officials of both countries have been engaged in dialogue separately, but there's still no prospect in sight for an easing of tensions. The King of Thailand has sent a message calling for love and harmony among the people of his country. He wrote the message after anti-government protesters sent him letters demanding reform to reduce his authority. King Maha Vajiralongkorn and Queen Suthida attended a royal event in the northeastern province of Udon Thani on Tuesday. The king wrote the message to the province's governor. It says, "We all love and care for each other, take care of the country, help each other protect our country." Thousands of anti-government protesters marched toward the royal palace in Bangkok on Sunday. Police blocked their way and sprayed them with water. The protesters then placed post boxes in front of the palace where they left their letters to the king. The royal palace has not officially commented on the letters or the recent series of demonstrations. In the aftermath of a tumultuous U.S. presidential election, the country is moving forward on international business. That includes beginning formal talks with Japan on a cost-sharing agreement for stationing U.S. forces there. Japan's financial contribution to U.S. military bases is negotiated every 5 years. The Trump administration has called for its allies to boost defense spending, and its negotiators had been widely expected to ask Japan to pay more in base costs. But it's unclear if this month's election results could prompt a policy shift. Foreign and defense officials from the two countries met in Washington on Monday and Tuesday, following prior consultations in October. Japan's chief cabinet secretary says the two countries hope to come up with a mutually beneficial conclusion.
Both nations reaffirmed that Japanese financial support for the U.S. troops has played an important role in ensuring smooth and effective operations, which are central to the Japan-U.S. alliance.
Japan aims to maintain its financial burden at the current level for at least the next fiscal year, considering the U.S. presidential transition period. It hopes to conclude the negotiations by the end of December, with the agreement set to expire in March.